Hello, my friends. Just Get to Work with Deb Kalidas. Welcome back if you've hung with us for episodes 1 and 2. Episode 3 here, we're launching off into the personal realm of what goes on at home. Motivational parenting. It's the toughest work you're ever going to do. Chris and I, my husband, we have 2 kids. Callie's almost 22 and almost married in August. Good Lord, that's a whole other episode. And then there's Nico, who's 20 and going to be a junior at school. And Callie's going to be a senior at school. So that's kind of my life. You never know what's in this cup. Do you like this? Yes, Mother of the Bride survival cup. So that is truly what it is. But we'll get to that in another episode. But today, let's talk about the beginning to ends of Just Get to Work parenting. Maybe you're a parent of a little one. Maybe yours are grown and flown in a different way. Maybe you're not a parent. And I encourage you, please listen on through this next half hour, because whether you're an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor, a friend, us parents, we need your support and understanding, because we're going through it in all different ways. And we're just excited to have others that care for us and just listen along the way. So let's dive in. So what the heck does motivational parenting have to do with just getting to work? Well, I argue that if you do not have the right parenting skill set in gear, and your kids aren't on the right path, then you're not really on the right path with things. It's got to all come together in a comprehensive moment of love and understanding from your household out into the world. Especially if you find yourself in a single parenting type of situation. My dad left when I was 6. I fully understand this. I'm being married now for about 25 years this upcoming March, which I'm so very blessed with, but I also know the flip side of what it means when you're bouncing between different places and in different ways. So as we talk about what motivational parenting is, it's a terminology that wasn't around when my husband and I had our kiddos. It's something now that has kind of come about because there's all kinds of different Freudian and psychological ways of parenting. But we found that word motivational was truly important to us because we wanted a household not of distractions and drama, but with purpose and the ability to have love and care and laughs and enthusiasm, but also have mistakes. Tears happen with purpose, and everything else that happens, that we found ourselves as having strict expectations of our children. But these strict expectations weren't of a grade point average or of a way you looked, but rather you be an individual that is constantly curious about what can be learned, what can be explored in doing those different things. So there's going to be 3 things that you learn from this podcast today. 1, what does it mean to be a motivational parent with strict expectations? 2, how do you know your parenting is working towards raising productive individuals? And 3, what to do when everything goes opposite as planned. Because let me tell you, it will. So let's dive in a little bit more to what exactly motivational parenting is. It's that inner drive, as I talk about, of enthusiasm for learning and growth. We don't want our children relying solely upon rewards and punishments. Now, that's not to say I didn't negotiate a couple of times to get through a dinner, a shopping trip, a car ride of some sort, or punishments, right? Not threatening with, well, if you do that, this is what's going to happen. The world in and of itself, the most successful adults are the ones that are able to predict the intrinsic nature of reward and also natural consequence. Those that are always so afraid of what they're going to do or how they're going to make a mistake and what's that going to mean, that leads to just unneeded anxiety and pressure that one puts on oneself instead of going, hey, this is a problem. I have the ability to solve it. So let's do this together. And here are the steps that need to take place. So first and foremost within that, what does it mean to have strict expectations? Well, it has to do with a strong foundation. Foundational support of, if a child knows exactly what's going to happen every day, it actually allows them to be more successful, more flexible later in life. Isn't that crazy? You'd think that if it was, hey, we're flying by the seat of our pants from day one, No, it actually proves reverse. So I know you'll see on TV and stuff of this household doesn't ever have any bedtimes or the kids can eat whenever they want and things. There is absolutely no proof whatsoever that children who do not have boundaries and schedules and expectations can do anything successful later on in life when it comes to being able to be productive. I'm sorry, that's just proven out there. We need a regimen where our children wake up every day and they know the love, the care, and then what is expected of them in being productive from the very beginning. Now, I'm not talking about a 6 month old. A 6 month old is there to be hanging out, to be picked up at every moment, extra love and affection. They know when grandma and grandpa come over, they're going to be fed something that they probably shouldn't have in some way. And that is glorious. What I'm talking about is as soon as your child is beginning to develop those communication skills, give them things to do. Simple from in the high chair all the way up to high school and beyond. You want to make sure that there is a purpose of what's going on. My children never said that they were bored, not because they had so many things around them, but because they always had ideas of what could be explored next and how we could support with what's going on. And that starts with positive relationships. There's a warm, loving trust between us as parents and child to know that, whatever quality time is spent together is spent with active listening and showing genuine interest in their lives. This is hard sometimes because your children might choose interests that you really don't have a lot in. And that's okay because you're going to be there and then you can also direct them to where they need to go. My daughter, she has such a love for dance, and I am so proud of her in that. And she's now leading dance in college and choreographing things, and we love going to those things. Something that she loved very early on was the Nutcracker. I have sat through quite a few Nutcrackers in my life. It is not a passion of mine. It's not something that I go, oh, this is such the sweet, Christmas thing. I will do it for my daughter every single time she asks. But something wonderful happened. Her yaya stepped in, and they go to the Nutcracker every year. And I'm so excited to support that and to smile. And of course, pop in every couple years of what's going on. But that is not an intrinsic need I had, but she knows that she has our 100% support behind those things. Our son, oh my gosh, he just absolutely loves Legos. That is above and beyond. And it was very clear early on in life. We told our kids, don't believe in Santa Claus, believe in grandparents because they bring a lot more different stuff for you. And so by encouraging and fostering that love for him, but not just giving him the Lego or helping him earn the Lego, but sitting and building with him and then taking it into other things, he's now in charge of building a swing set this week for our farm because, well, he knows how to follow those instructions. So you find those positive relationships that encourage curiosity and exploration and that help self-esteem and confidence because you're modeling positive behavior. And that then fosters an intrinsic motivation that they wake up every day and they want to set their own schedule. They want to fill it with things that are important to them and what's going on. So there's an agency of choice, as we say it. We give them challenging tasks. My daughter loves to cook in the kitchen. You can find Callie there. She baked her way through COVID. We all gained weight because of that. But that was where it's all right. When you accidentally put in 2 cups of flour instead of 1 cup, this is what happens in the end. Or when you accidentally put in a tablespoon of salt instead of a teaspoon of salt, the cookies come out a little bit salty. Those are moments, though, where there's a different challenge of understanding, again, of a natural consequence of why something does or does not work out and what you need to be paying attention to. It's focusing on the process, not just the outcome and what happens with it. And we want to make sure the intrinsic reward is that they have the love of serving someone else and what they can provide within their confidence and expertise and talents and all that they do. Because then that addresses challenges. And challenges, oh my goodness, they come through friendships. They come through friendships that are falling apart. They come through communication. They come through wanting something that is just not your time to have yet. And it comes from just life experiences that you just don't expect. My daughter ended up with a fructose intolerance. Have you ever heard of a fructose intolerance? I'd never heard of a fructose intolerance. Here I was thinking I was a good mom in middle school, like, why do you have a stomach ache? You just had a fruit salad. Well, after a food log and different visits and things, it turns out that she cannot have fructose, which is all fruits except apples and grapes because they have more glucose than fructose. anything with high fructose corn syrup because any of that makes her very, very sick for quite a bit of time. So that is really unfair when all of a sudden you're a seventh or eighth grader and you can't have the watermelon, let alone the popsicle or ice cream because there's a high fructose corn syrup in it. That was a mental moment for her where she had to understand really quickly, hey, this is the depth and breadth of my life and how we need to adjust. Now, as a almost 22-year-old, she's like, oh, I'm healthier. I watch ingredients. I really, really miss fruit, but I'm going to do everything I can to enjoy apples and grapes, and find other ways creatively to supplement my diet to maintain my health. So it was the challenge to then, the reward. Our son, he was diagnosed very late as an 11th grader with dyslexia. It was something where he never had a problem learning to read. Rather, it was it's been documented and studied that the dyslexic brain can take up to 7 times more energy to process written language than someone who is not dyslexic. They also look at the big picture. If you handed them a picture of a mountain and, the trees and the river, they would be asking questions. Well, what's beyond the mountain? What's beyond the borders of the frame? Famous dyslexics, Walt Disney, Abraham Lincoln, Einstein, Anne Rice, phenomenal, Richard Branson, different people who learned, okay, my superpower, not a disability, is being able to see the big picture. I'm probably going to need a really, really talented spouse to help me stay in line on the small details, and I may need an executive assistant, but I'm always going to be able to see the bigger picture. And that is true to form now that our son's going to be a junior in college. He just won an entrepreneur competition at school with a launch of a new business that he has that we'll talk about in a future podcast. But, we've had to figure out how to take a moment of deep frustration because the grade point average wasn't showing it. The SAT score definitely wasn't showing it. But his effort and his drive and his desire and his understanding was up here where these worldly standards of assessment were down here. Those are the moments where, as a family, we had to understand what the issue was, go in with curiosity, seeking to understand more, managing emotions. There was times when my husband and I, we were the ones that were like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do with this? Or how are we going to handle this? And oh my gosh, it's coming out as this behavior. And what do we need to do? To be able to come in solid to support our children in a manner that I spent an immense amount of time in the kitchen, revamping our entire way that we cooked and prepared things for my daughter. Like, I can't cook with lemon juice. You think that's easy in a restaurant and what you do and find things with lemon juice? It's very challenging in different ways. And for our son, we had a whole new world of expectations for ourselves and how we needed to communicate on a daily basis of what needed to happen through lists, Post-its, booklets, digital reminders, supplements, all these sort of things to bring it together for him to be able to be successful. But in the end, day after day, there was always clear expectations of them self-advocating for themselves. We're not going to be there forever talking to the teacher. We're not going to be there forever asking the waiter at the restaurant what's in the ingredients. They have to be able to seek the additional support that they need every step of the way. So within the holistic view of motivational parenting, let me use the example of technology and what we did, because this affects everyone. And wherever you are right now, maybe you're already regretting how much technology that your kids have access to. This is what we did. We decided at the middle school age, that was when the first introduction of a personal cell phone was going to take sight into our kids' lives. Specifically because we began dropping them off places like baseball practice or dance where we weren't hanging around and there's no payphone anymore. And we didn't want our children seeking out strangers or offices that were locked and unreliable to be able to get a hold of us or for us to get a hold of them. So the first thing with each of them is each of them got a dumb phone. They didn't get a smartphone. They got a dumb phone. It was a flip phone, something that I call what was my first phone that I was very excited about. So within this dumb phone, they had to pay for the phone, the Walmart, price. It was like $20. And then we paid for the minutes or however many came with it. And it was a very short amount of time, but it was enough to show that they were responsible for when someone called, they either answered or called back right away. They then knew how to answer the phone because there was no wall phone anymore. We all learned, right? The phone would ring. Thank you for calling the Colitas residence. This is Debbie speaking. There is no teaching that anymore. It's yo, because you can see who's on there, right? Totally different world. Totally different world. So that's where we started. From there, to get to the smartphone, the agreement was this. You, my friend, my child, will pay for the physical phone. So it wasn't any, oh, I'm getting the iPhone, look at me. No, no, no. They both found the Androids that fit their seventh grade budget to be able to manage what was needed along the way. We then were responsible for the cell plan. We then hooked them up with a Google account. Within that Google account, we had full access to the email, the search history, the password, everything going on with it. Our emails were the default email address. So if there was ever a password reset or something like that, we got the notification. And I understand now there's a heck of a lot of apps that you can install on phones of your kids and your family to monitor and manage things. We specifically decided not to do that as those came out because we wanted an authentic relationship with our children. And that's not saying all children can work that way, but in our mindset, it was, well, if we're having such a problem keeping track of things or their behavior, they do not deserve this. This is a privilege, not a right of what was going on. Also, when they paid for the phone, there was no plans of payment plans. You had to pay for it once and for all. So within that, there was a contract that we had with them. It laid out exactly the responsibility, understanding what it was. We could see them where they were on Google Maps, but they could see us on Google Maps as well. And as we set up a group chat of the family, my husband and I took our behavior between our chat into the family chat to be the example. Hey, hun, I'm 10 minutes away from home. See you soon. Love you. And it was those type of conversations that we never then had to tell our children, hey, let us know when you're on your way. Let us know when you're at your friend's house. Let us know here. They began doing it automatically because we had emulated that for them. And it was always in a positive way. It wasn't like, tell me where you were. Who were you hanging out with? It was, hey, I'm heading over to Sarah's house. We're getting together with Nick and Joseph, and we will be back by 5 o'clock for dinner. It was always so wonderful to see that manifest in a positive way. Now, you may have a sneaky child. That's something that you're going to have to deal with separately, and you are going to have to crack down the first time. Do not say, hey, next time. You say, nope. That was a decision that you did not handle properly, so I now have to handle the decision for you. This is now in cell phone jail for the next 48 hours. And that's what we did. I took a big Ziploc bag. I drew lines on it. I said cell phone jail, and I put it up on the bulletin board in the kitchen. I'd slide the phone into it with a sticky note of the sentence is 48 hours, 1 week. Things like that. And what's funny is they lost the cell phone, usually not because of the technology, but because of other things that they missed upon, of saying, hey, if this is important to you, this is then what is taken at the moment if you cannot make the correct decision. When you make the correct decision, absolutely, this is back in your hands and not a problem. Within the monitoring on it, we really didn't do a lot of behind the scenes, hey, I'm looking at it without you knowing. It was more or less in conversation. Hey, Callie, how are all your friends doing? Hey, show me what, you're texting about this week. And it wasn't to try to get in their business, but rather say, oh, wow, well, next time, you text back, Isabella, why don't you say this instead? Or, hey, when you're texting a grown-up, you should use punctuation in complete sentences. Little details like that. Now, there was the great moment of YouTube of my son where I happened to, log in, check out the back analytics. What is he searching? What is he doing? And it was something ridiculous, like 22 hours on YouTube that week. And I'm like, what the heck? And of course, mind of a young, boy in high school. And it's like, what was he looking at? My friends, it was 22 hours of Transformer videos. I don't think if you watched all the Transformer movies back to back, it's 22 hours. But somehow he had managed 22 hours of Transformer videos in 1 week. Was there yelling? No. Was there amusement? Oh, well, certainly. Was there teasing? Oh, my gosh. But it was a moment where then we were able to say, Miko, is this a good idea? No, it's not a good idea. He knew it. We didn't have to point that out to him. All right, what's the plan this week? What's going to happen? How do we, manifest that we reduce what we need of distractions and what's going on? All those different things. And so let me tell you, pretty much now, he's a successful 20-year-old that is not watching 22 hours of Transformer videos a week. And those are going to happen. What we also did is we made sure technology, phones, tablets, laptops were never allowed upstairs in bedrooms until they were senior year of high school. That wonderfully allowed things to stay controlled. They were plugged in the kitchen every night in the charging station. It allowed their bedroom to be where they slept. They could study without technology and be focused. The homework area was where laptops were left in different ways. And we really, really were strict on that. But by the time they got to senior year of high school, that whole edginess of, oh, I just want to have my phone. I just want to talk to my friends. That was already gone. They had already figured out successfully how to have the conversations in front of us, and in different ways. We didn't have to worry about that because you and I, our phones were attached to a wall growing up. So there was no sense of privacy. And I remember when we got our first cordless phone in the house, oh my gosh, totally abused it. So we had to set up, the new version of the corded phone as best we could in what was going on. The other thing we did, no gaming system. I know that's crazy. And we only have one TV in our house. So it was always aware of what was going on. And when our kids went to, friends' houses, that was always a reward if and when there was a gaming system, because we monitored and managed the conversations because I had a Game Boy and the original Nintendo. I couldn't talk to anybody but the other people in the room when we were playing. Now you have a whole world of strangers, and we wanted to protect them from that at that moment of time. Now, as college students, they are on their own. I do not have to worry about it, and we're in really good shape. But that was an example of motivational parenting through technology that then we didn't hit the bumps in the road of, oh my gosh, there's porn going on. Oh my gosh, my daughter is talking to a strange guy somewhere else. Oh my goodness, there's too much consumption of bad example videos and, things of that nature. We wanted to make sure that they were confident in their use of technology, specifically as they dived into social media. We wanted to make sure that they felt equipped. And so when they started with Instagram, we got all family Instagram at a time. They both had to create a super lockdown personal account, but then they had to create an account to grow an audience. So our son chose Legos. All of a sudden, he's sharing Lego photos and people are commenting. And Callie chose cats. So she's taking pictures of her cats and putting it out there. Well, they actually spent more time on growing their audience than their personal accounts and had a competition going of who was going to reach 100 followers first. My husband actually got into it too with his snow removal account, which he's grown to thousands of followers and a YouTube channel now. So you never know where it's going to grow, but they understood the back and forth. So there's an example, my friends, of motivational parenting through technology. But there's so many things. So what does it mean to be a parent with strict expectations? Expectations means that they're communicated. You let your children and family know, hey, this is what we're doing together and this is why. It's not about, hey, here are the rules, you better follow them. But hey, here's why we do things. This is why it's important to be creative, to always have that next idea, to go for something different, to not be the round peg in the round hole, be the square peg looking at the star and seeing how it all fits together. Strict expectations do not mean negative. Strict expectations mean that you're setting a goal together to achieve it. Now, how do you know if your parenting is working towards raising productive individuals? Because you're going to be in a relationship where you do it together. Your conversations aren't about being in a parent and child it's rather your children are coming to you and you're able to listen to them in a way where it complements their interests and joys and what they want to do. And this means you have to work on your own communication skills as well. If you've got a kid that just wants to hug, snuggle, and say, I love you, but you're not a snuggler and an I love you person, guess who's going to adjust? You are, my friends. So if you feel best that you can at least sit on the sofa next to each other and watch that Transformer movie, then do that. Make sure you're saying, I love you. If you can do it better in writing, then do it in a text every day instead of verbally. But see how you reach out of your shell to meet that need of the child, because as it is the most crazy, awesome reward that you can ever feel. So then the next one I said what you're going to learn, what to do when things go as opposite as planned. That's pretty much going to be every day. And so you're going to roll with it. You're going to go back to the priorities of the family. You're going to go back to those strict expectations, and you're going to call family meetings. You're going to say, hey, time out. This is what happened today. Callie, you got in a car wreck this week. True story. Nico, you failed a math test this week. True story. This is how we're going to rearrange things so that we all can be successful in what needs to happen next. So what happened? The car crash happened. It was, the car was totaled. Thank God Callie was okay. It ended up being a no-fault accident in the middle of an intersection, as it said. But guess what? We didn't say, hey, no driving. No, we said, get back in the car, go to driving school, and you're going to get even better at it. Nico, it was, okay, what do you need to do? We need to get a tutor. We need to see what is needed. Where is the deficit? Here's how we boost you up. So those are the different ways of, raising productive individuals is everything has a solution. And hey, those moments where your kids royally muck it up, and I'm talking about, involved in drugs and alcohol, lying, stealing, cheating, wrong friendships. Those are moments of a parent where you have the ability to extract and do drastic change. If you see your child heading down a direction that is destructive in either self-harm or harming others, those are the moments where your motivational parenting needs to be at its strongest. You need to enter in like a bull in a china shop and be able to rectify a situation. That may mean that you take the next week off from work, you pull them out of school, and you start at, square one every single day. You pull in the experts, you pull in the support system, whatever is needed so your child knows that there are no cracks that they can slip through in all that you do. And unfortunately, there's no perfect moment. Every child has their needs. There's mental illness. There is deficiencies. There is, emotional abuse and trauma. And those are the things that my heart goes out to, and I am not an expert in. But what I can tell you is your consistency over time in love and understanding, while providing natural consequences and not allowing manipulation and drama to come into your house, is absolutely incredible. So here's the Deb action. Just get to work. Evaluate where you are with your kids right now. Maybe you're like, oh, good, Deb, I'm on my right path. Or maybe you're like, oh my gosh, dear God, I have got some kids that are out of control. Guess what? You're the one that's in charge of the culture and motivation that can take place in your house. And it's not going to happen overnight if you need to make a grand, decision of something or a grand change. You need to figure out through your change management strategies that have allowed you to be a successful individual in the workplace or as a business owner, how do you bring that into your house? So whether that's, hey, everybody, we're going to start from, 5 p.m. to bedtime is now a no technology zone, and you have to follow it, then that is what you start doing. Starting family movie nights, game nights. Go back to basics. Walk around the neighborhood. Go find a playground. Go get ice cream. These are the things that families need to be spending more time with. So number 2, create challenges every day where failure is going to happen. That board games, it can't be any better. There's nothing better than pissing off your child by whooping their butt in Monopoly. Please go do that, because then they're going to figure out and do it to you, and then you're going to be crying like a little baby in the corner. That is a beautiful family moment of showing trust and relationships and how you can do things. You want to practice the recalculation of life, your routine, your motivation, words and deeds, all that you have going on. Choose a home improvement project together. Go thrifting. Refinish a piece of furniture. Paint a room. These are the kind of things in life that kids need to be exposed to so that they can be successful in the larger picture. Because here's the Deb investment. My mom's famous words are invest in your children because they pay the best dividends. And that does mean through your time and effort and financially. That's one of those moments where if you don't like how the school is handling your child, you may need to invest in time and dollars to see what other school options or homeschool things may be for your child. Also, all right, maybe your child really does have a talent in something, and maybe you don't have the budget to maximize that talent. Please go after places where they're there to support children in different ways. Don't take no for an answer, and find where they need to be in different ways. But also be real with your child. Both of our kids, our daughter and our son, they're not Olympic athletes. So we were like, you know what? We're not doing traveling sports. That's a no in our house. We're not doing traveling dance. You're not going to Juilliard. God bless you. We are going to be putting our effort other places. These are important things for children to understand from the beginning, that you're not squashing their dreams. Rather, you're helping direct where time and effort can be spent in different ways. Well, all in all, as your children do pay the best dividends, show them that they are your most valuable asset. Take that time, close the computer, rearrange your schedule, do what you need to do at moments so that they can see that you're there when they need you the most. So go just get to work, go hug those kiddos of yours. If you don't have kiddos, hey, find someone who does, offer to take those kids off their hands for a couple hours, be that motivational individual in their life, and you never know how that's going to impact. And as we go set today, make sure to hit that subscribe, put a comment below, reach out. I can't wait to be in discussion. And hey, let's just get to work.